entrepreneurs. I'm Shauna Craig from Crave Accounting. If you're just starting your business or leveling up from a side hustle to a serious hustle, this series is for you. Today, we're laying the foundation, business setup, a custom cash flow tool, and the number one accounting mistake to avoid. So let's get you legally ready and financially smart. All right. So the first thing we want to do is to set up your business. You're not a business until you're actually registered with the federal government and your state. And so let's take a look at what that looks like. If you're not familiar, the IRS is the federal organization that one you have to register your business with, and you also have to get your EIN. And your EIN is similar to your social security number, but it's a social security number for businesses. That's what it is. So first thing you want to do is go to the IRS website, and there's a little button here that says apply for a EIN number. So you want to click on that. Once you click on that, you're able to apply. And here it is, this big blue button. You click on apply. And of course, it's going to take you to the actual application. And you fill out all your details. You tell it what it is. Are you a sole proprietor? We talk about that. You never want to do that. Stay away from that. Okay. Partnership is if you have more than one people, you're starting a business with your bestie or your family, somebody, your brother, sister, your dad. You want to do that one. A corporation.
Sorry to interrupt. You broke up a little bit when you were saying never do a sole proprietor. We're going to stop and we'll start like right before you talked about that.
So go back to All right. So once you're on the IRS website, you click on that and you'll see the begin application. So you want to click on that. And here you have different types of organizations legal structures that you can set up. We have a sole proprietor. Well, never do that one. Stay away from that one. And we'll talk about that one another time. Partnerships, and partnerships is if you are starting a business with your bestie or your friend or a family member. We have corporations like a S corp or C corp, your LLC, which is most common. So chances are that's the one you're going to select and you want to continue through the application process. It's going to ask you for personal information, your business information. That's the first thing you want to do. At the end of this application, you'll actually have the opportunity to get your EIN. You want to print that page and save it in a secure place. You want to keep that very handy because you're going to use that throughout the life of your business. And they'll also send a copy in the mail as well. So you can print it, write it down, get it in the mail. All right. So that's the first thing with setting up your business, your EIN. The next thing you want to do, I'm in the state of Illinois, right? So I want to register my business in the state of Illinois. And so I go to my state, which is ilsos.gov. In your state, whatever that is, you go to their government website and you look for the service you want. I want a business service. So I'm going to start a business. Here, I'm registering my business. So I'm incorporate a domestic corporation. And that just means you are a business registered in Illinois and located in Illinois. That's what domestic means. Nonprofit, if that's it, organizing an LLC, you're terminating, whatever you're doing. So if you're just starting out in your state, you want to incorporate a domestic company, right? So you do that, you put the name of the corporation in, or if it's an LLC, you choose the one that says LLC and you put the name in, you follow through the process. Every state will have a registration fee. So that depends on your state. You want to pay that fee, get your articles going, and finally register because you need that. Again, some states too, depending on what city you live in, you also have to get a business license for your city. So I'm in the state of Illinois. I'm in the city of Chicago. So then I also need a city of Chicago business license. So you also have to go to that state. So you want to get that out the way, right? So we're good with talking about that. So any questions, Elle?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, how do you know if you need to get an additional license in a city as well?
Question. Sometimes you don't know. And a lot of people right now, I know they're operating and they don't have a city license. They might just have a state license. And so one of the things you have to do is just go to your state and ask. Go to your local, state office and just ask them, your city office, your city. the city office actually and just ask them, hey, do I need a business license? Chances are they'll tell you yes. I've seen some run from like $100 a year to $500 a year. It just depends on where you are. So yeah, it's just a matter of just asking, do I need one? And the application is fairly simple, at least for where I'm at. All right. So the next thing we want to do. So now that we've registered with the IRS, we registered with your state and your city. The next thing you want to do is get your business set up in terms of knowing your money, right? So we're going to talk about cash flow. That's the next step, right? So we built for you a plug and play cash flow template to help you plan 3, 6, and even 12 months ahead. So let me share that with you guys. And here is our cash flow template. And we'll drop this in the link for you so that you can also use this. So it's pretty straightforward. These are some assumptions. Most of it is like talk about your web traffic, how much you want. And so we don't want to deal with that. We just want to deal with revenue and expenses. So you can plug in what your revenue is. So you sell, for those that are in the product business, right? You sell socks. So you want to put socks here. You sell, I don't know, shoes. So you want to list all of your things there. You want to list your total value for them and so forth. And then throughout the cash flow, you can see each month will populate what your revenue will be like. For those that are in the service-based business, you might want to say hair cutting, example. And then we want to say, okay, how much are we going to project for that, right? These months, they are formula. So you never want to touch that. So we can say over 12 months, I do $150, whatever. And we're going to populate here and nails and whatever you do. And those are assumptions. We have our financials here. We can plug them in. Your revenue, it'll also calculate your gross profit. And this is something we can help walk you through. Those people who are not in the financial space, you look at this and you're like, oh my God, this is overwhelming. I don't know what to do. We can help you with that. So just reach out to us. But this template is in the Dropbox, in the description below. You can download that and you can play around with that and plug your numbers in and see how far you go with that. All right. So the next step is one of my biggest things, L, is when somebody's starting a business, is separate your business and your personal finances. Oh my God, the bane of my existence as an accountant. When people come to me and I'm looking at their financials and I'm like, breathe. That's what I tell myself, breathe. So you never want to do that. You want to keep your stuff separate. And what I mean by that is have a business account open. There's several, ways to do that. Some of the ones that we use, that we refer to clients, is that we ask them to open like a corporate card through partners like RAM or Relay. And those are just online banks. And you can set that up. So Relay, this is what it looks like. Actually, it's the other one. Pause. Okay.
That was getting kind of long anyway.
Yeah. And so separating your business and personal accounts, you can go to your bank. For example, if you have Bank of America and that's your personal bank, you can also set up a business account. You can keep them separate. Though when you log in, you can see both your business and personal. Some people like that, but never spend your personal money on business expenses and business expenses on personal expenses. You want to keep those separate. And in another episode, we'll talk about why. So some of the banks that we ask or maybe suggest to clients to do is one of them is called Relay. And Relay is an online bank. You can transfer money in between. You can set up different tags. You can have as many bank accounts as you want. So you can have a checking account for taxes. So some people put money in that checking account for taxes because they're all online accounts. You can set up a money for paying yourself at the end of the year. You can set up money for payroll. So there's different buckets you can set up for. And that bank is called Relay. And we'll drop that in the description as well. And another bank we have that we talk to clients about is one that's called RAM. And Ramp is it's like a bank card. So you can do different things. You can open a bank account there as well. You get a corporate card, and that's it. It's like having a spend card. So you can transfer money to that, and you can categorize your spend by different category, whether it's travel or operations, or you can issue cards to different employees if you have different people on your team and you want them to be able to go out and purchase things. You give them a Ramp card and you can see what they're spending on. And then what I love about Ramp is that you can block certain things. You can block certain merchants. You can say, you can't spend at gas stations or you can't spend at Victoria's Secrets. You can tell it what you can spend and not spend on. So that's my final tip, is to separate business and personal expenses. And like I said, I'll talk more about that in another week's episode. So with that, thank you for joining me on this quick setup accounting journey.